Blacks need to stop making other people's issues their problem. Blacks need to stop making other people's issues their problem. Welcome to this bold and thought-provoking conversation. Today, we are diving straight into an uncomfortable yet urgent topic: why do Black communities feel the need to carry the world's burdens, often at the expense of their own progress? It's time to ask tough questions and confront even tougher truths. Let's talk about why Black people need to start prioritizing our own community. Look around. From fighting climate change to addressing immigrant rights and LGBTQ+ issues, etc., Black communities worldwide are among the first to march, the first to organize, and the first to speak up. Don't get it twisted, these causes are vital, and solidarity isn't the enemy here. But how much have we sacrificed, sidelined, or ignored our own deep-rooted struggles in the name of being the voice for everyone else? Why does this imbalance exist? Is it the system taking advantage of our compassion? Is it the lingering trauma of seeing other people in some form of oppression? Or are we complicit in deprioritizing ourselves? These are questions we need to grapple with immediately. The truth is, racism doesn't impact all groups equally. While we fight for universal justice, systemic racism continues to disproportionately crush Black communities. If we are not deliberate about our focus, we risk becoming everyone's savior while continuing to drown in structural injustices that threaten our freedom, stability, and future. Let's take a brief walk through history. Black people have always been at the forefront of progressive movements as civil rights, women's rights, labor rights, and, more recently, movements for gender equality and climate justice. From abolitionists to freedom fighters, our ancestors fought tirelessly, not just for themselves but for others as well. But here's the thing, in many of these fights, there's a pattern. Black people often show up as the loudest voices, the driving force, yet when the dust settles, we are left asking, what about us? Our unique challenges often fade into the background, overshadowed by larger coalitions that benefit from our labor without ever prioritizing our needs. It's time we stop being the backbone and start being the priority. There's a hard truth here: no one else will fight for Black interests the way we can, and frankly, the way we must. Subscribers, leave a comment below saying "I subscribe," and we'll reply back to as many subscribers' comments as possible. When we say racism affects us differently, we mean this in every sense: economically, politically, culturally, and mentally. Consider the numbers. Black households face staggering wealth disparities, chronic underinvestment in education, and lower rates of healthcare access compared to white or even non-Black minority communities. The devastating reality of police brutality is our daily life experience. And yet, when we advocate for these issues, we are met with resistance or deafening silence. Why does it feel like everyone turns up when we are fighting for them, but we are on our own when the fight hits home? This reality has consequences. Our attention gets divided, our resources stretched thin, and our communities remain stuck in survival mode. The weight of constantly advocating for others has taken an emotional toll too: burnout, frustration, sometimes even disillusionment. If we don't start prioritizing the fight in our own backyards, these systemic issues will only deepen. Another uncomfortable truth: the world benefits from Black advocacy, but it rarely reciprocates in kind. Reflect on the movements we've supported. Has the favor been returned? How often do we see non-Black groups fighting with urgency for Black livelihoods? And no, we are not talking about performative hashtag posts or attending rallies to go viral. We are asking for real commitment. Who's rallying to dismantle the predatory systems plaguing Black neighborhoods? Who's backing Black banks to bridge wealth gaps or funding grassroots education initiatives in our communities? Mutual support often feels like a one-way street. This isn't about rejecting solidarity, it's about demanding equality within that solidarity. We need fairness, not optics. Every time we prioritize something over our own struggles, we pay a price. Think about the countless Black leaders, organizers, activists, and community leaders stretched thin fighting battles for multiple causes. Generations have poured their energy into building movements that ultimately give little in return. The cost isn't just felt by individuals. It ripples through families and communities. Today's youth lack adequate mentorship because their elders are caught in too many fights. Programs aimed at uplifting our neighborhoods are often underfunded because resources are diverted elsewhere. Prioritizing other groups over ourselves is not sustainable. And here's the kicker: when we burn out, we are alienated not just from advocacy but from each other. When our own community is neglected, even our internal support systems begin to crumble. Now, let's hold up a mirror to ourselves. Are Black individuals and organizations unintentionally complicit in this dynamic? Have we been trained by external forces, and sometimes by ourselves, to believe we must be everything for everyone? Society has glorified the idea of Black saviors, those who fight for the greater good, but at what point does this narrative harm us and our progress? We must challenge this thinking. It is not selfish to prioritize self-preservation. It is not divisive to focus inward. Subscribers, leave a comment below saying "I subscribe," and we'll reply back to as many subscribers' comments as possible. Let's reframe the conversation. Unapologetically advocating for our community isn't abandoning others. It's ensuring we have the strength to engage in meaningful solidarity, not as victims but as equals. We are not the only marginalized group navigating a world of systemic oppression, but there is something to be learned from others. Look at indigenous movements, Asian coalitions, or even LGBTQ+ struggles. Many of these communities have successfully forged paths of self-preservation while maintaining solidarity. They have mastered the delicate balance of showing up in some selected cases for others while keeping their own needs front and center. The lesson here is simple: prioritizing your group's livelihood isn't selfish, it's strategic. It's about ensuring your base is unshakable before lending a hand to others. Black communities must adopt a similar mindset. So, where do we start? The first step is internal unity. We need to strengthen the bonds within the African diaspora. That means supporting Black-owned businesses, investing in Black education, and actively participating in organizations that prioritize Black futures. Economic empowerment should be a top priority. The wealth gap is one of the most glaring systemic barriers holding us back. By building financial independence, we can reduce reliance on external systems and gain greater control over our collective destiny. Education is another cornerstone. A deeper understanding of our history, our rights, our opportunities, and our possibilities is essential. Knowledge is power, and it's something systemic structures fear. Educate the next generation to understand their worth and potential without hesitation or compromise. And let's not forget mental and physical wellness. Racism takes a damaging toll on these fronts. Normalize therapy. Normalize rest. Don't just survive, heal, grow, and thrive. It's also time we learn the beauty of boundaries. Say it with me: we can't fight every fight. Not every battle is our battlefield. Knowing when to say no isn't a betrayal of others, it's an act of self-preservation. Strategically allocating our energy allows us to focus on what truly matters, uplifting our own communities. To support others authentically, we must first ensure our foundation is unshakable. This doesn't mean abandoning allies, it means redefining allyship. True allies don't just take, they give. Real allyship means stepping up for Black causes with the same fervor we've shown for everyone else. A major part of this movement is reclaiming how we define ourselves. Too often, our narratives are shaped by external forces, media, institutions, even other marginalized groups. It's time to take back that control and create our own paradigm by any means necessary for the future of our children and our families. Our stories need to be told by us, for us. Representation matters, but authentic representation matters even more. Use art, music, film, and activism to amplify our voices. Don't let others tell us who we are or what we must care about. That's our decision and ours alone. Let's change the frequency and free ourselves from this matrix. Here's your call to action: focus inward and start turning over every rock to find our ancient Black history, so we as a people can teach our own children what they need to know about themselves. Look outward strategically. Prioritize Black futures unapologetically. Empower the next generation intentionally. Support Black-owned businesses. Invest in Black banks. Get to know young Black professionals. Donate to organizations driving change in our neighborhoods. Stop trading our voice and energy for communities that only half-heartedly show up when we need them. Solidarity doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Think about it: how can we lead others if our foundations are crumbling? Let's become an unshakable force built on unity, pride, and purpose. The time for hard conversations is now. The time for bold action. Already long overdue. Black communities are not just victims of systemic racism, we are survivors, fighters, and leaders. But leadership doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It's about strategy. It's about balance. Let's remember this: true power comes when we fight for ourselves first. When we move from a place of strength, not depletion. When we lead from within, unapologetically. So here's the message: stop saving people who won't save you. Stop being everyone's support system at the expense of your own. Start showing up for yourself, your family, your future. It's time to reclaim what's ours. Because our issues are not secondary, and neither are we. Subscribers, leave a comment below saying "I subscribe," and we'll reply back to as many subscribers' comments as possible.